We are rounding third on the baseball season here in Long Island, and you are watching Around the Diamond, our tri-state baseball show here on MSGVarsity.com and MSG Varsity Channel 614. I am your host, Kevin Devaney Jr., and this is the Long Island edition, where we are now entering the final real week of the regular season, getting ready for county tournaments, and going to crown a Long Island champion here at some point. And our resident baseball expert here at MSG Varsity, Eddie Margulies, was explaining to me the breakdown in my first year really kind of diving into Long Island baseball about the county tournaments, the double elimination, the best of three series. And let me tell you, you guys have it very good here on Long Island, because everywhere else they play one and dones to crown their champions. So Long Island baseball, I've been impressed with the quality of play and just the organization and just the interest in it. And we thank you for joining us here on Around the Diamond Long Island. We have a lot to discuss because, you know, as much as we talk about the public schools, the private schools, there's been a little bit of a debate kind of brewing here on Long Island. Who's the best team on the island? Is it St. Dom's? Is it MacArthur? We're going to kind of touch on that very momentarily. Ward, Melville, and Longwood renewing their rivalry. Very good matchups earlier this week. Shoreham, Wading River playing good baseball. Plainview JFK losing for the first time and then the second time this season. And we're going to reveal our top 20 poll here in the tri-state. Who's going to be number one? Seton Hall Prep from New Jersey lost this past week. Is there a new number one? You're going to find out here in a couple of minutes. And so we alluded to it just a minute ago, and that being St. Dominic. And them being undefeated, the hard-charging St. Dominic squad, the pitchers, the players they have going Division I. How good are they? Let's see when they matched up against Chaminade. And they seem to have met their match a little bit in this one early on. This ball over the fence there by Reese Kinnear. And now Reese Kinnear was trying to bunt earlier in this at-bat, and then he hits one over the fence in the third inning, a solo home run, and that turned out to be the only offense of this game. The pitching matchup was just that good. Jim McCarty pitched well for Chaminade, but he got out-dueled by Brady Renner. Brady Renner, 9 strikeouts, 4 hits in 6 innings pitched, and St. Dominic's rose along and survives for a 1-0 win in a Captive Schools showdown, as you said. Reese Kinnear with the solo home run in this game. And you know, Brady Renner, how good is Brady Renner? We talk about the other pitchers on Long Island. He might be having as good of a season as anybody out there, and we spoke to him after this game.
At the 5th and 6th inning, I was a little out of energy, out of gas, and I just relied on my defense. I had to throw strikes, and I was confident with the guys behind me that they can make the plays. Well, obviously, Chaminade's a good team. They were right behind us in the rankings. And we had recently been ranked number 1, obviously being undefeated. And today was just it's really just like a statement game.
And so Brady Renner referred to being recently ranked number 1, that being in Newsday, our partners at Newsday High School. So at Newsday High School Sports, well, MSG Varsity, we kind of had a little bit of a debate going on here, because is it MacArthur? I've long felt that MacArthur was the best team in the island when Adam Heidenfelder is pitching. Brady Renner, though, is making quite a case for St. Dominic's. When he's on the mound, St. Dominic's, the depth of pitching, it would be a very interesting matchup to see. I'm sticking with MacArthur. Newsday likes St. Dom's. We're going to find out who the tri-state poll, who we picked for our top team in Long Island later in this show. But it's a very interesting debate. Some teams that are playing strong. You know, Chaminade was another one that's played well. They came into that game 10-2. That was a tough loss for them. St. Dominic's being 13-0. But Ward, Melville, and you know, you talk about the top rivalries in Suffolk County in Class AA. Ward, Melville, and Longwood. This is a matchup, the series that you had circled a couple weeks back, and it lived up to the hype, at least when we went to the game on Monday afternoon. Eddie Margulies out there at that one as well. Ward entered 11-2 after taking 2 of 3 from Sachem East. And you see a back and forth game. Longwood scored 2 runs in the first inning, and that held up until the 6th. Ward scored 4 runs in the top of the 6th, keyed by a Ryan Shields 2-run double. Longwood came back 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th. Andrew Gazzola, Chris Weiss, Cam Orlagio, Mitchell Gregorovich all had RBIs in this game. And this one would go to the 8th inning, when Shields grounded to shortstop, just a high throw, Shields scored the winning run, what proved to be the winner in a 5-4, 8-inning back and forth contest, and then it ends with a ground out to shortstop. And you see just the emotion from Ward Melville after beating Longwood 5-4, and just kind of the excitement in this one. Melville, just a big win for them. And then they met on Tuesday, and Longwood evened the score and knocked them off when they met the second time around. But Ryan Shields, 3 for 4, 2 RBIs, the game-winning run scored, and we spoke to Ward Melville afterwards.
Good hitters, so I got out of it, threw some fastballs, let them hit it, first pitch strikes, let my defense do what they do best and make plays. Zola's a great pitcher, and this team, we just showed great heart. Come back. He was pitching great today. We got some key hits, and it should propel us towards the playoffs.
We just never want to give up. Never give up. We have a great hitting team, and we just never give up because our pitching's going to be there. Just got to hit the ball. It's a great team win. Wilty pitched one hell of a game, kept us in there. We just need time to hit, and we got timely hitting. Even though we made playoffs, we still want to get the best record we can. So we want that 1 or 2 seed coming out of League One, and hopefully make a run in the playoffs, have home field at Ward Melville, and have another run like last year.
Very close to a playoff atmosphere, as you saw there, as Phil Cavallari comes in relief, and he closed the door 2 2/3 innings, only 1 hit, and he got the win in that one. And then Chris Cepeda, as you saw there at the end, 3 for 4, 2 RBIs. So just a good team win on Monday as Ward Melville knocked off Longwood 5-4. Now we move over to North Shore, and you look at North Shore. They opened the season 2-2. They kind of faded a little bit with teams getting off to hotter starts, and they've been on a tear ever since in Nassau League A5 until losing on Monday to Lynbrook. They came back. They had won 8 games in a row, and one of those games was when they knocked off Bethpage at a game that they won 7-0. That Jack Augavin, he's been nearly untouchable during that 8-game winning streak. A 3-hitter, 5 strikeouts. North Shore beating Bethpage 7-0. North Shore actually swept Bethpage, and in those 3 games outscored them by a margin of 24-1. Pitching has been everything for North Shore during their 8-game winning streak. Ryan Perro, Augavin, Nick Daly have all been fantastic, all coming up with big performances. North Shore closes their schedule next week with a 3-game series against Valley Stream South, and we're going to see if they can kind of keep the momentum going into the Nassau tournament. But North Shore, with that pitching, Jack Augavin and Ryan Perro on the mound, they're going to be very tough out in the postseason in Nassau. Now we skip over back to Shoreham Wading River, and they took on West Hampton this past week. And Shoreham Wading River opened the season 10-0-1, had momentum going into this series, and then they dropped the first 2 games to West Hampton in this 3-game series, 4-3, 6-1. They came back. Brian Morrell came into this game coming off 2 no-hitters and a bunt single there in the first inning, broke up his chance at number 3, but Shoreham Wading River had the last laugh in this one. They go on to beat West Hampton 13-5. The Bats came alive on Thursday, salvaging the final win. Adam Pietrowski, 3 hits, John Montesano, a home run, and 3 RBIs in this one as well. Matt Fox, Jack Massa, 2 RBIs apiece. Shoreham back on track, setting up a showdown, a 3-game showdown with Bayport Blue Point next week. And that's going to be a very interesting one. The defending champions, Bayport Blue Point, defending state champions as well. And afterwards, we spoke with John Montesano about Shoreham and how they've kind of righted the ship after those 2 losses.
First loss in this series was tough. Second loss, I think, was tougher for the team. It was just hard. We knew that this game meant a lot to us, and winning it just boosted our confidence much more as a team. Just everybody just started hitting the ball. We all felt confident at the plate. I felt confident. I know all my other players said after that hit also, and it just helped bring us back into this whole entire chase and just made us all feel great.
And confidence, as Montesano said, for Shoreham. I mean, that's everything moving forward for Shoreham Wading River as they get ready for the postseason. Again, you mentioned Bayport Blue Point waiting next week to kind of finish out the regular season and see where they really are as they go into the county tournament. A team that was riding high, the last undefeated team in Nassau was Plainview JFK. We profiled them, talked about them a lot on last week's show, and then they lost the first time all season, and then they lost the second time all season. So you want to call it the MSG Varsity around the Diamond Jinx. That is totally fair. Again, they opened the season with a 12-0 record, and really they ran into a couple hot pitchers in their 2 losses. Brian Cavanaugh from East Meadow, he pitched a complete game with 9 strikeouts to beat Plainview in their first loss, and then in that game it was actually 1-1 going to the bottom of the 6th inning. 4 days later, Plainview JFK lost to Baldwin 5-1. This time, Matt Lyle pitched a complete game with only 1 run allowed, 5 strikeouts. Baldwin was actually down 1-0 in the 5th inning. Lyle delivered a 2-run triple to put Baldwin ahead for good. And you see Plainview JFK going to fall a little bit in our rankings. They slid a little bit down the Newsday rankings, but I wouldn't be too worried. It's funny with a Plainview team that last year didn't have much success to speak of. I think they only won 6 games last season. They come in, they qualify for the postseason. Maybe a little bit of the pressure is off them now. Losing those 2 games may settle them back in. although they have an interesting matchup next week to close out the regular season. They have 3 games against MacArthur, and they're going to run into Adam Heidenfelder in probably one of those games. So it's going to be interesting to see how Plainview JFK matches up as they get ready for a run in the postseason. Another team that's been, I don't want to say they've been up and down, but they've lost a couple of games here and there, and that being Half Hollow Hills West. And Hills West, they've taken 2 or 3 in 2 series against East Islip and Hauppauge. But losing those games in those series was maybe a little bit of a surprise. They opened the season in the top 20. They were 9-0. Losing to Hauppauge, did we overreact by dropping them down in the Newsday poll and in the MSG Varsity poll? It's hard to say, but Hills West now is kind of angling to be a #1 seed in the county tournament. Took 2 of 3 from East Islip and had a win over West Bab. In the Suffolk AA matchup, Aaron Glickstein pitched a complete game 5-hitter with 11 strikeouts in a 6-0 win over West Babylon. And Glickstein's been terrific this season. 6 wins, 6-0 record. And Tom DiGiorgi swinging the bat well as well. 2 homers in one of those wins over East Islip. He has 5 home runs on the season. So Hills West is not a team that you want to kind of run into in the playoffs. A lot of teams in Long Island in the Suffolk division, they're going to be very tough outs in that AA tournament. And now Sachem North. And Sachem North is... They started the season, and Greg Sarah kind of built up Sachem North, how good they were going to be this year when I spoke to him. And, they've had some little speed bumps along the way, but they're playing, maybe they might be one of the hottest teams heading into the postseason. Knocked off Connetquot 10-2 on Monday. Dennis Buckstein, the senior pitcher, a complete game win, also drove in a run in that win. 8 wins in a row. They scored 10 runs or more in 4 of the last 6 games. And you don't need many with Dennis Buckstein on the mound. He has 5 wins on the season, and he went the distance to beat Connetquot on Monday. Buckstein also killing at the plate. Nick Marina, also another one of those guys who's hitting and pitching and doing exceptionally well. So Sachem North now 15-2 on the season, and they have Connetquot to wrap up the regular season on Thursday. They should be well rested for the county tournament. So that is our we won't jump back and forth between Nassau and Suffolk, but that's kind of the way we like to do things around here on Around the Diamond. So Sachem North, as I said, maybe one of the hotter teams going into the county tournament. It's going to be interesting to see how they match up. We take a look back now in the last week and a half, and a guy who's really, he's been good all season long, really not the last week and a half, but that being TJ Magno of Valley Stream North. And he's kind of our hitter of the week. Newsday did a nice little profile on him this past week. Hitting .471 on the season, has a .581 on-base percentage, and he's been doing it all over. On the mound as well, 2-0 on the mound with a 1.23 ERA, 9 stolen bases, 13 runs scored, 4 extra base hits, had a big home run and a win this past week. So TJ Magno is our hitter of the week for Long Island. And now we look at our pitcher of the week for Long Island. That's going to be Ryan Lennon. And Ryan Lennon, we've had some no-hitters. We had a perfect game, and Mike Dilio I think Mike Dilio took all the air out of who's going to have the best performance of any pitcher this season. He did it in his first varsity start with those 21 strikeouts. But Ryan Lennon pitched a no-hitter on Monday in a 9-0 win over Great Neck North. Struck out 13, walked 2, did it on 96 pitches on the year, a 4-1 record, 37 strikeouts in 35 1/3 innings pitched. Manhasset is now 8-7 overall on the season, and they have a couple wins they need to get to the postseason. But Manhasset has a gem in Ryan Lennon, and he pitched exceptionally well in that one. And now we close our show. We close this part of the show with Hicksville and what they did over the weekend, honoring their late coach, Bill Hiskey, naming the field after him at Hicksville High School. He passed away this past January, coached the team up until the mid to late 90s, and they did a very nice job honoring him this past week on Saturday afternoon at Hicksville. And now our MSG Varsity Tri-State poll is the 4th week of the poll. I wonder when we did this, and we kind of set out to do this knowing that baseball was unique to any other sport. Lacrosse, you have so many of the top teams play each other, so teams lose. But sometimes in baseball, you have the top teams lose to teams that aren't even sniffing your top 20 poll or your regional polls in Long Island and New York City and Hudson Valley. And how would we react? And this is really the week we have to figure out how we're going to react, because a lot of the teams in our poll lost to teams that were not in the poll. So now we're going to take a look at our first 5 teams. And I think the reaction, you'll get the sense here, there really wasn't much. And Don Bosco comes into the poll as the number 20 team. Even though they lost, don't be fooled by their records. Really are. You can make a case they're one of the top 10 teams in the Tri-State. But at 7-5, we had them at number 20. Arlington comes out. Your 2-time defending champions. I just think Arlington is just not playing consistent enough baseball. Plainview JFK lost twice this past week after a 12-0 start. They dropped some spots, but they're hanging in there despite those 2 losses. Our number 18 team up in Connecticut is New Canaan. Your defending Class L state champions in Connecticut. They move up 1 spot. The momentum's building. Big test on Monday against Staples. Our number 17 team is Telecommunications at 8-0. They haven't played too much baseball over the past week. They've been rained out and they've had other issues, and they're going to take on James Madison. Really their biggest test of the season so far. And then our number 16 team is Longwood at 11-3, losing on Monday to Ward Melville, coming back, beating them on Tuesday. We felt they just played such good baseball over the course of the season. They belong in here on number 16 teams. As we said, they split with their 2 matchups with Ward Melville this past week. And now we go to the next, number 15, and that being Beacon High School, 9-1 all in the year. They move up 3 spots, really in line to win a Class A champion in Section 1. Tony Romanelli headed to Wake Forest, 17 strikeouts in Monday's 2-0 win over Somers. Now the number 14 team out to New Jersey. You're going to see a little bit of a trend here with New Jersey teams inching their way up to the top of the pack here. They've won 12 games in a row at Huntington Central. They move up 2 spots. Number 13 team, also from New Jersey, St. Joe's Regional. The pitching at St. Joe's has really catapulted them into the middle, and they really have a chance to be in the top 10 maybe by next week. 10-2-1 record overall. They go from unranked to number 13. Our number 12 team in the poll is a team that's coming down the poll 5 spots, that being Fairfield Prep. They lost for the first time this season in a non-league game. And we now look at our number 11 team, and that being Ward Melville, 11-2 overall. And they move up 2 spots, as we said, knocking off Longwood. I think Ward Melville, just the way that they've played over the past 2 or 3 weeks, they've kind of separated themselves from the middle of the pack in Long Island, and they are a number 11 team. Now we look at our top 10 teams in our poll, and we're going to start at number 10, of course, and that being Poly Prep. Now they lost a game this past week, but again, don't react too much when one of the top aces are not pitching. They are the number 10 team. They're going to stay there in the number 10 spot. Number 9 from New Jersey, 13-1, that being Old Bridge. They move up 6 spots. Brandon Abdul, 3 homers, 9 RBIs in just 1 win, that being over Piscataway this past weekend. Our number 8 team is Ketchum. They dropped 3 spots after splitting their matchups. Yes, they beat Arlington, their rival, on Thursday, but the way they lost 12-1 on Saturday, maybe they were due for a game like that, but Arlington going to drop a couple spots from number 5 to number 8. Now we look at the number 17, that being Bergen Catholic. They move up 4 spots. They continue to play well, and John Vandermark, 7 RBI in his last 3 games for Bergen Catholic. They move into the single digits in our poll. And the number 6 team being St. Peter's Prep, another team from New Jersey, 15-2-1 despite the pitching. Is this the deepest pitching staff in New Jersey? Antonio Velarde, Dan Cooney, Corey Cattle, Anthony Colgrove, all undefeated on the mound this season for St. Peter's Prep. Now we go to our top 5, and this is where we had some movement, some discussion, but we kept things firm. Millburn moves up from 6 to number 5. Evie Rubal headed to Notre Dame. He gets the win in a win over Seton Hall Prep, our number 1 team. You'll see in a moment. Millburn, though, they lost the game this past week, so we're going to keep Millburn in the top 5, moving up to the top 5, but just not any higher than that. St. Dominic from Long Island, they're 11-0. They're the only, really the undefeated team in Long Island right now at 11-0. They want to break out the brooms after they knocked out Chaminade this past week in a 1-0 game. They stick at our number 4 spot. Our number 3 team is Wall from New Jersey. They being 12-1. They're going to stay at the number 3 spot. Ryan Orender and Tyler Swagat, back-to-back complete games for the Crimson Knights. And now here you go. You didn't see much movement despite teams losing over the last 10 days. MacArthur is going to stay as our number 2 team in Long Island. I just think, as I've said before, Adam Heidenfelder just gives them an edge that I don't think any team in Long Island, and maybe any team in the Tri-State, can match up with. They're still, in my opinion, are the number 1 team in Long Island, and our number 1 team in the Tri-State going to stay at Seton Hall Prep. I know a lot of people thought, because they lost this past week to Millburn 3-1, they'd have been averaging 12.5 hits per game. The body of work. Seton Hall Prep, to me, is the number 1 team in the Tri-State, but they're on notice. They are on notice with our expert Greg Lerner as well to see where they are moving forward. And I think that, again, baseball is baseball. You lose a game every now and then, and it's not really an indictment of how they are as a team. I feel like I say that every week, but that's going to do it for our shows. Thank you for watching Around the Diamond. Great job this week by Eddie Margulies, Stack, And of course, Brian Butler, Bob Stack does it better than anybody else, and Dan Exter as well in New Jersey. Thank you for watching Around the Diamond, and we'll see you next week.